session. One, can I have the parties announce themselves for the record, please?
Elaine Fusco, State Attorney's Office.
Letitia Fowler with the Office of Public Defender.
Okay, I was told that we were doing this second session because of the clerk didn't have the paperwork to input the case.
Okay.
No, that's just, I didn't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Okay. I don't think that the felony case is inputted yet in the, no, there's no felony case number because, so, are you Mr. McCray?
Yes, ma'am.
Come on forward, please. All right. Can you just state your name for me?
Jacare Chantel McCray.
Okay, Mr. McCray, I think we're gonna have to call your case second session because the clerk who was inputting the documents didn't have the motion to transfer, which was in the juvenile case, to open a felony case number. So there is no case number currently, and so I don't even think Madam Clerk could print out any documents or do anything because there's no case number for the felony.
I mean, I have an order, they just don't have a case number.
Right. So they told me that I had to do it second session. That's what the clerk told Jill, I believe.
Okay.
Okay. So, we're gonna call your case second session, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
John, that second session, will it be at 1?
Yes, it's gonna be at 1. We have 3 RICO cases, and statewide is coming at 1 o'clock because they cannot be here this morning. Okay? All right, good morning, sir.
Hi,
Can you tell me your name?
Ronald
What's your last name?
Cooley.
Okay, Mr. Cooley, you're here in 2020 CF 1992AO. You're arrested for burglary of a dwelling or structure causing damage over $1,000, trespassing in a structure or conveyance, and criminal mischief. And I do find probable cause. And I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, okay?
Oi,
So, no return back to the 860 West Fairbanks Avenue, no contact with any victims or witnesses in the case, and
Okay.
abide by the trespass warning.
oi,
The bond will stay at $5,100 and $150.
oi.
Okay, Mr. Fordham. All right, so I'm gonna find his refusal to be a waiver in 2020 CF 1970AO. I'm gonna appoint the public defender, and Ms. Fowler, do you wanna formally waive?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so, no drugs, well, I find probable cause for the possession of cocaine. And, so, no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription. Also, no return to, that Wawat 5810 Raleigh Street. And he's out on release, and based on my review of the affidavit, I am releasing or revoking 2020 CF 122AO and setting that at none. I believe he has the public defender in that case. All right, tell me your name.
Tyler Farmer.
All right, Mr. Farmer, you're here in 2019 CF 7055AO. You failed to appear for a status hearing on February 4th, 2020, and the judge did set your bond at none. And does he have the public defender in that case? Okay. So you do have the public defender. They're going to file any motions to set bond for you. And as it relates to the out on release case, I'm not taking any action on that. And so just make sure, does he have the PD in the out on release case?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So just make sure you keep in touch with your attorneys, okay?
What now?
Make sure you keep in touch with your attorneys.
When do I get out?
Well, you have no bond, sir, so the PD's office will have to
What
file
did
a
I do
motion for
wrong
you.
though?
You didn't go to court when you were supposed to. And
So how long do I have to wait till I get out of here? I don't have any money.
Have they, they've never done this before. Today's the first day I've actually seen 2 fads on failure to appear cases. Is this like a new thing that they're doing?
No, it's only kids.
Right, they've never done it.
They just called it as one.
Yeah, this is 2 times today. I've never seen it done before on a failure to appear. Yeah, interesting. All right, tell me your name.
Michael Bowling,
All right, Mr. Bowling, you're here in 2019 CF 9089 AO, and you're arrested pursuant to a capias for failing to appear for case management conference on February 10th, 2020, and the judge did revoke your bond, set your bond at none. Does he have the public defender? Okay, you have the public defender. You also have reporting requirements, so you need to make sure you comply with those while you're at the jail, but the PD's office can file any motions for you, okay? Do you want this back?
I'll try not to fall.
Just step up.
All right, tell me your name, ma'am. Good morning, please tell me your name.
Angela Cox.
All right, Ms. Cox, you're here in 2020 CF 1998 AO. You're arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Did you find probable cause? And I'll appoint the public defender. No contact with any victims or any witnesses, no weapons, no firearms, and no ammunition. No return back to where the offense is alleged to have occurred. And the bond will be stayed at $2,500. All right, good morning. Tell me your name.
Dundrick Dion Hooks, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Hooks, you're here in 2020 CF 1994, and you were arrested for resisting an officer without violence, possession of MDMA, and trespass in an occupied structure. And I do find probable cause, and I'll appoint the public defender's office to represent you. You may not return back to the Highway Food Mart at 700 West Church Street. No contact with any victims or witnesses. No drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription, and abide by the trespass. All right, and so I'm gonna stay the bonds at 1,000, 100, and 100. I'm not taking any action on your out on release case. You do have a court date coming up, okay? Don't wanna miss that court date, so you do have the public defender on that case. Make sure you get in touch with them. Looks like March 4th, does it say? I don't-
Yep, March 4th.
March 4th. All right, if you have any questions, call your attorney. All right, tell me your name.
Carl Wilson.
All right, Mr. Wilson, you're here in 2020 CO 144. You were arrested for soliciting without a permit, and I do find probable cause. I'll appoint the PD. Was there an offer for Mr. Wilson?
Yes, Your Honor. Adjudication of guilt, 2 days with credit time served, court cost.
All right, Mr. Wilson, do you want to do that? You'll get out today.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll have you sign the plea form, please. Thank you. All right, is that your signature at the bottom of the plea form?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand everything contained within the plea form?
I do.
You understand all those rights you're giving up by entering the plea?
Yes.
Are you on probation anywhere?
No.
You understand if you're not a U.S. citizen, the plea will subject you to deportation?
Yes.
Okay, do you find a factual basis to accept your plea based on the affidavit in the court file? I'll adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to 2 days with credit for 2 days, time served. Order you pay your court costs by February 13th, 2021.
Okay.
If you'd like to appeal the judgment and sentence of the court, you must do so in writing within 30 days. If you cannot afford an attorney, one would be appointed for you. All right,
Okay.
good luck.
All right, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Tell me your name.
Fernando Leiva Leon.
Okay, so Mr. Leyva Leon, you were picked up on an out-of-county warrant out of Miami-Dade County, and I believe pursuant to our administrative order, the time has lapsed, and they have not come and get you. So I'd like corrections to put on the record the amount of the days or the communication that has been had with Miami, any phone calls, any teletype.
Okay, teletypes were sent on the 9th 4 times. They made a phone call and spoke with Officer Lloyd of Miami Police Department. That was acknowledged. And they also received an acknowledgement that on the 9th at 8:55 a.m. And again, an acknowledgement from Miami on the 9th at 9:51 a.m. And they did say, information has been forwarded to the jail transportation unit and extradition department. And that was on the 9th, and still no pickup arrangements have been made.
Okay, so nothing after the 9th.
Right.
Okay. Could you please try to communicate with them or have somebody try to communicate with them? And we'll call this again at second session.
Okay.
I'd like to see if they're on their way or if, because if there's been no, I didn't know if that was 4 attempts from the 9th, but it's all on the 9th. Okay. So what we're going to do, sir, is call your case on the second session, see what communication's been made with Miami-Dade, okay?
All right.
All right.
So when would that be?
At 1 o'clock.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So do you want me to just hold on to it? We're gonna recall it at 1. I'll just look. All right, good morning, sir. Tell me your name, please.
Richard Barber.
All right, Mr. Barber, you're here in 2020 CF 1993AO. You're arrested for possession of alprazolam and possession of cannabis, less than 20 grams. Do you find probable cause, and I'll appoint the public defender. No drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription. The bonds will stay at $1,000 and $100. I'm not going to revoke your release on your out on release case. You do have a court date coming up on March 5th.
Yes, ma'am, I go to all my court dates.
Okay, so you need to make sure that you keep in touch with your attorneys and you show up to court, okay?
ma'am. Yes,
No
ma'am.
new arrests or anything.
Okay, thank you.
All right. You guys ready? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good one. All right, good morning. Tell me your name.
Michael Bassler.
All right, Mr. Bassler, you're here in case number 2020 CF 1989AO. You're arrested for grand theft third degree of a motor vehicle, and I do find probable cause, and I'll appoint the public defender's office to represent you in your case. And so no contact with any listed victims or witnesses, and no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription, and the bond will stay at $1,000. Good morning, tell me your name.
Ricardo Correa Marin.
Okay, sir, you're here on 19 CF 1600AO, and it's a failure to appear for pretrial on November 12th, 2019. And the judge did revoke your release and set your bond at none. Does he have the PD or? Okay, you have the public defender. They're gonna have to file some motions to set bond for you, okay? All right, so Ms. Fowler will give you that number. All right, good morning. Tell me your name, please.
Douglas White Cunningham.
All right, Mr. Cunningham, you're here in 2020 CF 1564AO. You were picked up pursuant to a warrant in which probable cause was previously found for failing to register as a sexual offender. And I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you in your case. I'm going to stay the bond at the $2,000, and you do have reporting requirements, and the judge who signed the warrant said, you know, report within 72 hours of your release if you report. If you're in jail, you're still going to have to report. Why don't you ask Ms. Fowler? I don't want you to say anything about your case, okay? That's your attorney is standing next to you, so you need to communicate through her.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay? You want to talk to her?
Yeah, this has been. Do you want her to get out?
Yep.
We can do that today? Okay. All right. Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, good morning. Tell me your name, please.
Quentin Cunningham.
All right, Mr. Cunningham, you're here in 2020 CF 890, and you were arrested pursuant to a warrant in which probable cause was found for grand theft third degree of a motor vehicle, burglary of a conveyance, receiving money from a pawnbroker by false verification, principal to first degree dealing in stolen property, and grand theft third degree. And I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you in your case. No contact with any listed victims or witnesses. No return back to the Shell gas station at 5827 Curry Ford Road, nor may you return back to the Walmart at 3838 South Cimarron Boulevard. And your bond on count one, I'll reduce to 1,000. Count two will stay at 3,500. Count three will be 150. Count four will be 150, and count five, I'll stay at the 500.
This one.
Did the air just go off again? I can't. I can't say it. All right, tell me your name.
Justice Fort.
All right, Mr. Fort, you're here in 2019 CF 16726, and you were arrested pursuant to a warrant in which probable cause was found for robbery with a firearm. And I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. Ms. Fusco, does the state wish to be heard as to bond?
Yes, Your Honor. We ask the court to consider all the facts in the arrest affidavit, including The victim, one, knew the defendant as his childhood friend. The defendant was with a co-defendant who pointed a black handgun with an extended clip at the victim's face and ordered the victim to turn over everything in his pockets to the defendant. After they obtained his wallet, cash, iPhone, the co-defendant hit the victim in the back of the head with the handgun and ordered him on the ground. The victim positively identified the defendant. A second victim who was with the victim also had his cards and cash taken by a third co-defendant. He observed the defendant take the victim's belonging at gunpoint. Two reporting witnesses also saw the events happen, although they were not close enough to identify the defendants. The state argues that there is proof evident or presumption great and asks that the defendant be held with no bond.
All right, Ms. Fowler.
Your Honor, the affidavit is based solely on one alleged victim's statement. The other alleged victim was unable to identify any of the black males. There's no physical evidence that links him to the scene. Also, there's no independent witnesses to specifically ID Mr. Fort, so we just ask the court to not find proof evident presumption great.
Okay, well, I mean, the victim knows him, so. I do find proof evident presumption great, but I'm gonna give him a bond, okay? So, Mr. Fort, you're not to have any contact directly or indirectly with any victim, any witness, or any co-defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
No weapons, no firearms, no ammunition, no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription, and you're not to return back to 444 South Rio Grande Avenue, so that apartment complex,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? And I am gonna set your bond at $30,000. Keep in touch with your attorney. Don't miss any court dates, okay?
Yeah, what's the 10%?
All right, tell me your name.
Cody Faust.
All right, Mr. Faust, you're here in 2020 CF 1984. You're arrested pursuant to a warrant, and probable cause was found for grand theft of a motor vehicle. And I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. No return back to 1515 Black Bear Court. No contact with any victims, any witnesses, or any co-defendants, if there are any. And your bond will stay at $1,500.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, please tell me your name.
Kenley Grant.
All right, Mr. Grant, you're here in 2018 CF 353AO, and you were arrested pursuant to a warrant in which probable cause was previously found for failing to register as a transient sexual offender for a 30-day check-in. And the state did file an information charging you with failing to report to the sheriff's office every 30 days. So that information was filed, looks like back in 2018. And I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. I'm gonna set your bond at $3,500. You do have reporting requirements, okay? So you need to make sure that you comply with those while you're in the jail or while you're out, okay? All right, tell me your name, sir.
My name is Caleb Horn.
All right, sir, you're here in 2019 CF 6768. You're arrested pursuant to a CAFIAS for failing to appear for pretrial conference on October 16, 2019. The judge did revoke your release and set your bond at none. Does he have the public defender?
Yes.
Yes, okay, you do have the public defender, and they're gonna have to file some motions for you. So Ms. Fowler will give you a number to call, okay? Good morning.
Good morning.
Tell me your name, please.
Reginald Montree Jackson.
All right, Mr. Jackson, you're here in 2020 CF 1995AO. You were arrested for driving while license suspended as a habitual traffic offender or revoked. And I do find probable cause, and I'll appoint the public defender's office to represent you. You cannot drive without a valid driver's license. The bond will stay at $2,500. I am gonna revoke your release, but double your bond. So you'll have a $5,000 bond on the out on release case. Keep in touch with your attorney. Okay? Don't miss any court dates, and if you come back and you get picked up for any offense, driving or anything else, then, it's probably not gonna be a good day.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's the number, call your attorney.
Good morning, tell me your name.
Morning. Anthony Jamal Charles.
Okay. All right, so you're here in 2019 CF 944AO, and you were arrested pursuant to a capias for failing to appear for trial on February 3rd, 2020. The judge did revoke your release and set your bond at none. Does he have the public defender?
Yes.
Okay. And so the public defender is going to have to file any motions for bond for you. I'm not going to take any action on the out on release case. This is the other one that I noticed that they filed the FAT on, but, so just make sure that you don't, that you keep in touch with your attorneys, okay?
Yeah.
This is the number, call your attorney.
All right, please tell me your name.
Alejandro Jimenez Zayas.
All right, Mr. Jimenez Zayas, you're here in 2020 CF 1988AO. You're arrested for possession of fentanyl, and I do find probable cause. I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. No drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription, and the bond will stay at $1,000.
This is the number, call your attorney, okay?
Good morning, tell me your name, please.
Gilbert Martinez.
All right, Mr. Martinez, you're here in 2020 CF 1981AO. You're arrested for grand theft third degree. I do find probable cause. And I'll appoint the public defender's office to represent you in your case. You may not have any contact with any victims or witnesses in the case. No return back to the Old Navy at 404 North Alafaya Trail. Are all these other, is this this isn't an add-on? Oh, it is. Okay. All right, and I'll stay, well, I'm gonna set the bond at $2,500. Okay. We'll reset Mr. Mitchell. All right, tell me your name.
Ricky Neal.
All right, Mr. Neal, you're here in 2020 CF 1990. You're arrested for grand theft third degree, and I do find probable cause, and I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. No contact with any listed victims or witnesses, no return back to the Millennium Mall, and abide by the trespass warning, and the bond will stay at $2,500. All right, please tell me your name.
Reynaldo Ortiz.
All right, Mr. Ortiz, you're here in 2020 CF 1012. You're arrested pursuant to a warrant in which probable cause was found for armed burglary of an occupied dwelling, aggravated assault with a firearm, and criminal mischief. And I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. Does the state wish to be heard as to bond?
Yes, Your Honor. The state asked the court to consider all the facts in the arrest affidavit, including that the defendant had been socializing with the victims earlier in the evening, later came to their home but was asked to leave by the victims. He then returned in the middle of the night, broke through the door to the home, entered the bedroom of the victims, pointed a black handgun to their heads, and made threatening statements. The defendant was located, identified by both victims in a photo lineup. The damage to the door was also photographed and placed into evidence. The state argues that there is proof evident or presumption great and asks that it be held without bond.
Ms. Fowler?
Your Honor, we defer the matter to the court.
All right, I do find proof evident, presumption great. And so, Mr. Ortiz Gonzalez, I am going to hold you no bond on count 1. Count 2 will be $5,000. Count 3, I'll stay at the $1,000. No return back to the victim's residence at 2815 Arc Drive. No contact directly or indirectly with any victim, any witness. No drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription, and no weapons or firearms or ammunition. And I think, well, it's a 5-day hold anyway for probation. All right, tell me your name.
My name is Derek Robertson,
All
ma'am.
right, Mr. Robertson, you're here in 2020 CF 1991AO, and you were arrested for possession of cocaine and attempted destruction of evidence. I find probable cause for count 1, not for count 2. Just merely dropping an item on the ground is not destruction. So I'm gonna ROR on count 2. The bond will stay at 1,000 on count 1. No drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription.
Yes,
And I'm
ma'am.
not gonna take any action on the out on release case.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
do have a court date coming up?
Yes, ma'am.
On that? Okay,
do.
if you're out, you need, make sure you go. You can't miss it. If you come back, and it's probably gonna be a no bond warrant if you miss court.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
what day is that?
Say again?
What day is your court date?
I believe if upon on the 26th, if I can't believe.
Got it. 26.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I have bond and everything.
Oh, and did I appoint the PD? Oh, okay. You don't qualify for the PD, but, does he have the PD on the other case, or no? No. Mr. Robertson, you make $1,250 a week?
I'm a black mason, ma'am.
Okay,
I
so-
live black for a
So
living.
you just rent, it's dependent on who's hiring you? Or do you work for, you get a steady paycheck?
Yes, ma'am. I work for Industrial Concrete.
Okay, so is your income $1,250 a week?
Yes, ma'am. That's after taxes.
Okay, after taxes, and you
But
have.
sometimes, but we've been in it since like the end of the year. It's like a free zone that we went to like at the end of the year because of the holidays.
Okay.
So I haven't bring in that much in about a month now.
Okay, well, I
because
need
we're
to
just
know
now
right
back on
now
track.
what you're bringing in every week. Do you get paid every week, bi-weekly, or monthly?
Every week, ma'am.
And then, so
But-
when was the last time you got paid?
Last week.
And what was
But
your
I
paycheck?
only worked 3 days last week.
Okay, and do you normally work 2 or 3 days?
No, ma'am. It's a lot of time I work a full week. But
Okay.
last week I had a lot of things going on with my
Okay.
children,
Okay,
so I had
the
to
week
take
before, when you worked a full week,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
what did you make?
11.
1,100?
Yes.
With 2 children?
Yes.
Okay, is he gonna qualify? I think so.
Only make $835.
A week with 2 kids?
That's
Okay.
three.
All right, so, Mr. Robertson, you're gonna have to hire your own attorney. I can't appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You have the income to do that,
But
okay?
me can't burn out.
Yeah, you can bond out. I'm saying
Okay.
I can't appoint the Public Defender.
I was
didn't
just
take
trying
any
to make-
action on that. Oh, I don't have another, there's 2 cases? Oh, I didn't even see the other case. Okay.
Which one of that?
So that's 2020 MM 1136 AO, and that's possession of cannabis, less than 20 grams, and resisting an officer without violence. And let me read it real quick because I didn't see it there. All right, I do find probable cause for those offenses of possession of cannabis and resisting. And so no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription, same conditions as in the other case. I'm gonna ROR on count 1, and the bond will stay at 500 on count 2. So you're still gonna have to hire an attorney, but you have bonds. You're not being held on anything. You have bonds, okay?
So I may not have no hold that right
No
now.
holds, you have bonds.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Is it by any way you can write it down here from the police? Like the bond amount? Okay, thank you.
All right, please tell me your name.
Antonio Simmons.
All right, Mr. Simmons, you're here in 2020 CF 1987AO, and you were arrested for possession of alprazolam. I do find probable cause, and I'll appoint the public defender to represent you, and so no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription, and the bond will stay at 1,000. And in 2020 CT 1124, you were arrested for driving while license suspended. And I do find probable cause, and I'll appoint the public defender to represent you in your case. No driving without a valid driver's license, and the bond will stay at 500. All right, please tell, oh, sorry.
What, the first bond? How much is that?
All right, tell me your name, sir.
Brett Wayne Stid.
All right, Mr. Stid, you're here in 2019 CF 10818 AO. You're arrested pursuant to a capias for failing to appear for your pretrial conference on December 17, 2019. The judge did revoke your release and set your bond at none. Does he have an attorney, the PD? Okay, you do have the public defender, and they're going to have to file a motion for you.
Do they have a court date, a listed court date now?
No.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, from here?
Up there, yeah.
You have Jessica Tomlinson next? Tomlinson? She bonded? Okay, thanks. We'll take no action. All right, tell me your name.
Julie Ford.
All right, Ms. Ford. You're here in 2020 MO 236, and you're arrested for disorderly conduct. I do find probable cause, and I'll appoint the public defender. Was there an offer?
Yes, Your Honor, adjudication of guilt, 2 days with credit time served, court costs.
All right, you want to do that, Ms. Ford?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'll have you sign the plea form, okay? All right, is that your signature at the bottom of the plea form?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, did you understand everything contained within the plea form?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand all those rights you're giving up by entering the plea?
Yes.
Okay, are you on probation anywhere?
No.
You understand if you're not a U.S. citizen, the plea will subject you to deportation?
Yes.
Okay. I do find a factual basis to accept your plea based on the affidavit in the court file. I'll adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to 2 days with credit for 2 days' time served. I'll order you pay your court costs by February 13th, 2021, gives you a year. If you'd like to appeal the judgment and sentence of the court, you must do so in writing within 30 days. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. Good luck, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, and Amethyst Smiley bonded? Okay, take no action. Tell me your name.
Anthony
What's your last name?
Bryant.
Okay, Mr. Bryant, you're here in 2020 MM 1134AO. You're arrested for resisting an officer without violence in an open container violation. And I do find probable cause. And I don't have a form for the public defender. And I'm seeing that you don't have any criminal history whatsoever.
No, ma'am.
So, do you want me to appoint the public defender, and I'll ROR you, and you can handle this downtown, and maybe, because they have programs with the state attorney's office when you don't have criminal history.
Okay, I'll
and you
take that.
So I think that's probably the best thing to do
Yes,
than to
ma'am.
resolve it today, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I don't want you to mess up your record today.
Thank you.
Without talking to an attorney a little bit more, okay?
I really appreciate that.
So I'm gonna appoint the public defender's office to represent you. I'm gonna release you ROR, which means you need to show up to your court date. They're gonna give you a court date when you get out.
Yes, ma'am.
Do not miss that court date.
Yes, ma'am.
Make sure you keep in touch with your attorneys, because I don't know if you have, do you have an address that you get mail at?
I can get one. Yes, I have a father that stays here.
Okay, when you get that information,
Yes, ma'am.
contact the clerk's office, and
Yes,
then
ma'am.
contact your attorneys.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Ms. Fowler's gonna give you a number.
All righty.
Make sure you keep that number handy,
Yes, ma'am.
okay?
All right.
All right. And, no conditions of release, okay?
Okay. All right.
All right, tell me your name.
Mr. Flowers.
All right, Mr. Flowers, you're here on a Palm Beach County warrant, and Palm Beach County set your bond at $15,000. So if you're able to bond out, you can bond out. If you can't bond out, then Palm Beach County will have 72 hours pursuant to our administrative order, not including weekends or holidays, to come and pick you up. If they haven't done that within the time frame, then you'll come back before a judge, okay?
All right,
All right, good luck.
thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Tell me your name.
Andy Mendez.
All right, Mr. Mendez, you are here on a Osceola County case. Looks like it's an over-the-county line arrest. And I do the IA on this, correct? I keep forgetting. Okay. All right, so you were arrested for trespass in an occupied structure or conveyance. And I do find probable cause, and I don't have a form for the PD. Were you gonna hire your own attorney? Do you have the public defender on your other cases out of Osceola County? I don't know if you do or not. Do you know, Ms. Fowler, if you represent him?
No, I don't know, Your Honor.
Do you have access to the Osceola?
No.
No?
I can't look at Osceola.
Okay, do you know if you have attorneys in those cases, sir?
I know my mom is speaking to somebody about that.
But you don't have the public defender? Okay. So, all right, I'm gonna appoint the PD. You can always hire your own attorney, okay? And I'm gonna appoint the PD on the other cases in Osceola as well. And so, no contact with any listed victims or witnesses in the case. The bond is $500. I am gonna revoke the release in the 2020 CF 310. It's an Osceola County case, and 2020 CF 1416AO. And I did appoint the PD for those cases. So the Public Defender's Office can file any appropriate motions for you, okay? Varner?
Mental health hearing.
All right, we'll reset Mr. Varner. And then Hernandez.
Spanish, courtroom two.
Okay, I'll hold on to that for Judge Carter. All right, and then are we ready on 33 days, or you need a minute, Ms. Wisco?
I'm ready, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, we have 2020 CF 436AO Daryl Lamont Frazier.
Yes, Your Honor, on February 12th, there was filing of an information, filing ID 103-206-846.
All right, that will be denied. 2019 CF 15540AO Jordanis Duran Paz.
Yes, Your Honor, on February 12th, there was filing of an information, filing ID 103-218-371.
Okay, that will be denied. (2020) CF 438AO Felix Alberto Santos Garriga.
Yes, Your Honor, on February 12th, there was filing of an information, filing ID 103-187-973.
All right, that will be denied. 2020 CF 359AO James Timothy Pollard Jr.
Yes, Your Honor, on February 12th, there was filing of an information, filing ID 103-187-848.
All right, that will be denied. 2020 MM 20201AO Ashley Deanne Garland.
Yes, Your Honor, February 12th, there was notice of non-filing.
That will be granted. (2019) CF 16096AO Jaden Rashawn Stevens Martin.
Yes, Your Honor, on February 12th, an information was filed, filing ID 103-215-418.
That will be denied. 2020 CF 182AO Felix Alberto Santos Garriga.
Yes, Your Honor, on February 12th, an information was filed, filing ID 103-218-714.
All right, that will be denied. All right, so we're gonna recall, we're starting at 1, and then we have the 3 RICO cases and our regular docket, and then we're gonna call Mr. McCray as well. All right, anything else? All right, hearing nothing, we're in recess
No, Your
until.
Honor.
Okay.
Office.
Mary Salmon, Office of Statewide Prosecution.
Letitia Follows, the Office of Public Defender.
What was your last name again?
Salmon.
Salmon,
Yes,
okay.
S-A-M-M-O-N.
Said it very quickly. All right, good afternoon. Tell me your name again.
Jaquez McCray.
Okay, Mr. McCray. And so this was a transfer from juvenile to circuit felony, and they did file an information charging you with armed burglary of a dwelling with a firearm, robbery with a firearm, attempted aggravated battery with a firearm, shooting at or within or into a dwelling, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And so I believe probable cause was previously found, and the information was filed, and I know the PD was appointed for you in juvenile, but I'll appoint them here too. It should transfer over, but either way, they're appointed to represent you. And as it relates to the bond, does the state wish to be heard as to bond? I believe that count 1, count 2 are both first-degree felonies punishable by life.
Yes, Your Honor. The state asked that the court consider all the facts in the arrest affidavits. In this case, the defendant and two co-defendants entered the victim's home and took his personal property, electronics equipment, credit cards, cash, and a Glock 9mm handgun. As they were leaving, the victim stuck his head out. The defendant fired several shots toward the victim, striking within 4 to 6 feet of him. 6 9mm casings and 1 projectile were found at the scene. Latent prints were obtained at the site of entry into the victim's home. The victim had video surveillance footage of his home that captured the incident. The victim observed this defendant firing the shots, and the defendant was also captured with the gun in his hand on video footage. Credit cards of the victims were later being used at the Mall at the Millennium, and a vehicle stolen by the defendants was located there. The victim's property that had been described at the scene, including the handgun, was located in the stolen car. When the defendant fired at the victim was not in pursuit and was unarmed. The state argues that there is proof evident or presumption great and asks to be held without bond. Although the defendant is 16, we ask the court to consider his already lengthy criminal history, the fact he was on probation when this happened, that he had a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew in effect when this happened, he was to possess no weapons when this happened, and he also attempted to flee on foot even after the vehicular chase by police. So to prevent flee for the safety of the victim and the community, the state asks he be held without bond.
All right, Ms. Fowler?
Your Honor, I refer the matter to the court.
Okay, so I have reviewed the affidavit, and I do find that proof is evident and presumption is great. And I am going to hold Mr. McCray at no bond on counts 1 and 2. That's the armed burglary of a dwelling with a firearm and robbery with a firearm. Count 3 will be $10,000. Count 4 will be $3,500, and count 5 will be $150. And so, Mr. McCray, no contact with any victims, any witnesses or co-defendants, that's directly or indirectly, no weapons, no firearms, no ammunition, no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription, and no return back to the victim's residence. And that's listed in the affidavit. All right, your attorneys will be able to file a bond motion for you downtown, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'm just gonna give you everything that I have here. I don't know what we printed and what you printed, and so I don't want you to lose anything. All right, tell me your name, sir.
Fernando Leverman.
Okay, and then, has corrections heard anything, from Miami?
Yes, ma'am. They were able to speak with Miami-Dade, they spoke with extradition, and also with transportation. Miami-Dade said, yes, we will extradite, we will come and pick him up sometime next week, can't give us a date.
Okay, so, Mr. Levaya, is that how you say it? Levaya Leon?
Leyva
Okay.
Leon.
So our administrative order says 72 hours. The statute says a reasonable amount of time, okay? So since Miami has said that they're going to come and get you, I'm going to hold you for another 72 hours, okay? Again, that's not including any weekends or holidays. So if they haven't come and picked you up by that time, then we'll reevaluate that, because now they're definitely on notice that they're coming, that they need to come and pick you up, okay?
All right.
So, I don't know what 72 hours without the weekend. Wednesday?
So if they don't pick him up by Wednesday, we can come back and see.
Yeah, we'll put you back on the docket, okay? We won't forget about you.
All right, thank you.
Okay? All right. No, I want to see him again. Mhm. Or Judge Carter. All right, good afternoon. Tell me your name.
My name is Jeremy Benjamin Love.
Okay, Mr. Love, let me get your paperwork. Yeah, because I've read everything. All right. All right, Mr. Love, you're here in 2020 CF 1160AO, and you were arrested pursuant to a warrant in which probable cause was found for racketeering, conspiracy to commit racketeering, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, neglect of a child, possession of a place for manufacturing of fentanyl with a child present with a firearm, conspiracy to traffic in fentanyl 28 grams or more with a firearm, conspiracy to traffic in fentanyl 28 grams or more with a firearm, conspiracy to traffic in fentanyl 28 grams or more with a firearm, neglect of a child, possession of a place for manufacturing of fentanyl with a child present with a firearm, neglect of a child, possession of place for manufacturing of fentanyl with a child present with a firearm, possession of place for manufacturing of fentanyl with a child present with a firearm, unlawful use of a two-way communication device. And so there's 14 counts. And Ms. Salmon, you're representing statewide?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And do I have a form for the, I do. So I'm gonna appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, okay? And so I do know that count Count 5 is a life felony, count 6 is a life felony, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13 are all life felonies. And those are life felonies due to the firearm.
Correct, Your Honor.
Yeah. So, and I do note that Judge Beamer signed the arrest warrant and set some bonds, and then also set the counts that were life felonies at no bond, and put some conditions of release on there. Also put not to be modified by IA judge, which legally speaking is not permitted, but
Yes, Judge.
it is going to be her case because all of the cases are going to Division 11. Is
Yes,
that
Judge.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. I believe I did see the transfer order on that. And so, Ms. Salmon, did you wish to be heard?
Your Honor, the state would ask that the bonds be stayed. I think that there are some no bonds on, I think, counts that aren't
Oh,
life
okay.
felonies.
The RICO, count 1
Yes.
and 2, okay.
And so the state would ask that a reasonable bond be set, something similar to what the co-defendants have had with regards to the RICO and conspiracy to RICO counts, which I believe around
Most of them
50
were 100,000.
100,000.
100,000.
But with regard to the no bond, the state would ask that that be stayed, and then a hearing can be addressed in front of Judge Beamer, where the state can present evidence, proof evident, presumption great. And I don't know if Your Honor had a chance to read the affidavit.
I actually shockingly did.
And it's
100 and something pages that or more than that, I think, that I received this morning. I mean, I think it's a 600-page affidavit
in total, yes, Your Honor.
cumulatively, yeah, so.
With regards to this defendant, his life felonies involve his 2 children being inside a trap house where they were selling fentanyl with firearms. Law enforcement had a wiretap. They also had video and audio inside that trap house. And so pickoffs of customers leaving that were revealed that the substance they were selling was in fact fentanyl. Not only is this considered, labeled as a dangerous crime, and that it was manufacturing fentanyl inside the trap house. Based on all these reasons, the state would ask that Your Honor say the bonds at no bond.
All right, Ms. Fowler?
And, Your Honor, in regards to the RICO charge and the conspiracy charge, we will just request for the bond to be set at $50,000, and in regards to the life felonies, to leave it at the court's discretion.
Okay, so, I do find proof evident presumption great based on what I've read in the affidavit. It's a quite lengthy affidavit. There's photographs, there's, I guess that's from the videos, there's phone conversations, there's all sorts of evidence that's presented in the affidavit. So I do find that there is proof evident presumption great for all of the counts that are life felonies. And so, I could use my discretion and set a bond, but I'm not going to today. So, Mr. Love, your attorneys will be able to file a bond motion downtown, and you'll be able to have that heard in front of Judge Beamer. She's going to be the judge on your case. As it relates to count 1, I'm going to set the bond at $100,000. Count 2 will be $25,000. Count 3 will stay at $5,000. Count 4 will stay at $2,500. There'll be no bond on count 5, 6, and 7, and 8. Count 9 will stay at $2,500. Count 10 will stay at no bond. Count 11, $2,500. Counts 12 and 13 at no bond, and count 14 will be $2,500. The conditions of any release, if you're to be released, and Judge Beamer could change those if she were to give you a bond, but at this time, you're not to have any contact directly or indirectly with any victim, and that includes the victims of the child neglect. No contact with any witnesses or co-defendants. So that's direct or indirect. If you don't know what that means, you need to ask your attorney. No possession of any weapons, any firearms, or any ammunition. And no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription. And I'm going to require also, and that if you have a passport, I don't know if you do, but if you do, before you were to be released, you would have to surrender that passport to the clerk. If you didn't own a passport, then you'll have to file an affidavit notarized under oath indicating that you do not own a passport, and that's subject to perjury. So it needs to be truthful. Was there anything further?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. And so, Mr. Love, your attorneys will be able to file a bond motion for you downtown, okay?
This is Ms. Willis, the co-defendant.
Okay. All right, ma'am, tell me your name, please.
Quashandra LaSharon Willis.
All right, Miss Willis, you're here in 2020 CF 1387. You were arrested pursuant to a warrant in which probable cause was previously found. And that's for racketeering, conspiracy to commit racketeering, and possession of a place for manufacturing of fentanyl with a child present with a firearm, possession of a place for manufacturing of fentanyl with a child present with a firearm. And count 3 and 4 are life felonies. I do see that Judge LeBlanc did set bonds at $100,000 on counts 3 and 4. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you. I have reviewed the affidavit that was provided to me. Not quite as lengthy as Mr. Love's, but I did review that. And so I don't know if you, Ms. Salmon, you wish to be heard as to bond on count 3 or 4, or if you want me to stay the bonds
Your Honor, not at
as
this time.
set in the warrant.
Yes, Your Honor, I would just ask that they are stayed as set in the warrant.
Okay, and Ms. Fowler?
Oh, no, nothing further from defense, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so Ms. Willis, your bonds are going to stay as set in the warrant at $50,000 on counts 1 and 2, and $100,000 each on counts 3 and 4. And I don't know if Judge LeBlanc put any conditions of release. So the conditions of your release, if you're to be released, are as follows. No contact with any witnesses, co-defendants, no return to the scene, no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription, no weapons, no firearms, and no ammunition. And if you have a passport, you'll need to surrender that to law enforcement, to the clerk's office. If you don't own a passport, and that would be within 12 hours of your release. If you don't own a passport, you're gonna have to file an affidavit under oath, notarized, subject to perjury, that you don't own a passport, okay? I don't know whether you do or you don't.
No, ma'am, I
I'm
don't.
Sure law enforcement would know if you did or not, but, so those bonds will stay, and my guess is public defender will probably have to conflict off many of these cases. So I don't know if the public defender will stay on your case, but you can always hire your own attorney, but they should be in communication with you about your case, okay?
Okay, thank
And if
you.
you can't afford your bond, they can file a bond motion downtown,
Thank
okay?
you.
There was one more co-defendant
Yes,
on this case.
Mr. He was,
Barroso?
yeah, and he was medical yesterday. Is he coming today? He refused? Okay, well, we're gonna address his case if he refused, okay? And so Mr. Barboso refused to come to court. I find that to be a waiver, and I'm gonna appoint the public defender's office to represent him. Mrs. Fowler, do you wanna formally waive?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so it's 2020 CF 1386AO, and they also filed an on-view violation of probation based on the new law offenses of, in 2018 CF 9996AO. So I'll address that one as well. I'll appoint the PD on that case too. And that bond will be stayed at none on the violation of probation. He'll see Judge Whitehead in a couple days for that. And as it relates to the charges set forth in the warrant in 2020 CF 1386, it's charged with racketeering, conspiracy to commit racketeering, trafficking in fentanyl 28 grams or more, conspiracy to traffic in fentanyl 28 grams or more, conspiracy to possess 20 grams or more of cannabis, and unlawful use of a two-way communication device, none of which are first-degree felonies punishable by life. The bonds were set by Judge LeBlanc in the warrant. And so, Ms. Salmon, did you wish to be heard as to that? I did also review the affidavit for Mr. Barroso that was sent yesterday.
Based on everything contained in the affidavit, the state would ask that those bonds be stayed.
Okay, Ms. Fowler.
And same, we just asked for the bonds to be stayed.
Okay, so I'm gonna stay the bonds on counts 1 through 6, 100,000, counts 2 through 4 are 50,000, count 5 is 5,000, and count 6, I think it's 500? It's 500. And so, the public defender's office can file any appropriate motions, for him. Okay, anything else that,
That's it.
and, any conditions of release are going to be no contact with any witnesses or co-defendants, no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription, no weapons, no firearms, and no ammunition, no return to the scene, the trap house. And additionally, if he has a passport, he'll have to surrender that to the clerk within 12 hours of his release. If he does not own one, he'll have to file an affidavit under oath, notarized, subject to perjury, that he does not own a passport. Anything further?
Not from the state, Your
Okay.
Honor. And that's all I have. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, please tell me your name.
Willie Celestin.
Okay, Mr. Silliston, you're here in 2019 CF 17228. You're arrested pursuant to a warrant in which probable cause was previously found for failing to report the name change, your name or residence change. So it looks like the state did file an information, and they charged you with failure of a sexual offender to report within 40 hours of vacating a permanent, temporary, or transient residence. And so, I'll appoint the public do I have a forum? Yeah, I do. I'll appoint the public defender's office to represent you in that case. You do have reporting requirements, so even if you're in the jail and you're not able to bond out, you still need to comply with the reporting requirements. I don't want you to say anything on the record that relates to the facts of your case. If you have a defense, today's not the day to do it, okay?
Okay.
All right? That's for your own benefit. I know you might want to talk, but it's not a good idea, and Ms. Fowler will tell you the same thing, okay?
Okay.
So you just have to comply with any reporting requirements. Your bond is set at $3,500. In 2020 CF 2003AO, you're arrested for possession of a controlled substance. If you find probable cause, and I'll appoint the PD to represent you in that case as well. And so in that case, you also have reporting requirements, because that's one of the things that you need to do, and no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription. The bond will stay at $1,000. If you have a question, talk to Ms. Fowler, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right. All right, good afternoon. Tell me your name.
Desiree Charles McGee.
All right, Miss Childs McGee, you're here in 2020 CF 2009. You're arrested for aggravated assault with a firearm, possession of a controlled substance with a weapon, possession of a synthetic cannabinoids, and possession of cannabis less than 20 grams. And I do find probable cause, and I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you in your case. No return back to where the offense is alleged to have occurred. I believe that's the 1953 Continental Boulevard. No contact with any victims or any witnesses in the case. No weapons or firearms or ammunition, and no drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription.
And Your Honor, she stated that her job requires her to have a firearm.
Okay. So where do you work?
I do security. I just got my D and my G. I'm working on my conceal, so that wasn't for no purpose.
Where do you?
I do Rum Jungle. I work on at a club, like as a bouncer.
And they give you a firearm?
No, that's what they rely on us to do, to go take the class for a firearm.
Okay. Well, unless you're working security and you're required to have a firearm,
That's what I'm taking the class for now.
Okay.
That's concealed weapon
While this
class.
case is pending, you cannot possess any weapons or firearms or ammunition. So if you have any, you're gonna have to surrender them to law enforcement within 10
I don't have
hours
it. They
of your
took it
release.
already.
Okay, I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
And once the case gets resolved, that's a whole different story, okay? I don't know if the state will file on it or not. You've just been arrested. But if you're not required to have the firearm at work at this time, then it's something that your attorneys would be able to file a motion, okay, if that issue does come up, okay? And so the bond on count 1 will be set at $5,000. Count 2 will be $150, count 3 will be $150, and count 4 will be $100, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, surrender any weapons or firearms within 10 hours of her release. All right, please tell me your name.
Jacquees Hogan.
Okay, do we know what happened to Davis?
Bonded, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll take no action.
And then that John Doe was hospital, Your Honor.
Okay, do we know do we have a name for John Doe? No? Okay. So he's in the hospital?
Yes.
All right, so we will reset within 24 hours of his release from the hospital. All right, and are you Miss Hogan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. All right, so you're here in 2019 CF 416. It's an on-view violation of probation based on some new law offenses, and I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office. I do find probable cause for the on-view VOP. They did give me a bond correction sheet because it needs to come in at no bond. And you're on probation for cannabis. So I am gonna stay the bond at none. And you're not entitled to a bond, but you may be able to get a bond, okay? So, you'll see Judge Whitehead in a couple days for your arraignment, but in the meantime, the Public Defender's Office can file any appropriate motions for you, okay? And then I believe Beggs bonded? PTR, or admin PTR? Okay, so that's admin PTR, and then Hungrivera bonded? Okay. Joni Marie Hungrivera? And it's 2,000-4360.
Surety bond.
Okay, bonded. Okay, we'll take no action. All right, tell me your name.
Brenton Welch.
Okay, Mr. Welch. You're here in an out-of-county warrant out of Volusia County, and the judge in Volusia County did set your bond at none in the case. Looks like it's a VOP. So the bonds are going to stay at none, and Volusia County will have 72 hours, not including weekends or holidays, to come and pick you up. If they don't do that within the time frame, you'll come back before a judge. I don't know what happened in Volusia County. I don't know if the Orange County case that you're out on release on is what's violated you over there.
I got ROR on that.
I know you did, but that might have violated you in Volusia if you're on probation there. So I'm not gonna take any action. I don't know what happened, so I'm not gonna revoke any release or anything like that in the new law case. But you need to keep in touch with your attorney. Do you have an attorney in that case?
Yes.
Okay, keep in touch with your attorneys, okay? All right, tell me your name.
Timothy Wilson.
All right, Mr. Wilson, you're here in 2020 MO 238. You're arrested for an open container violation, and I do find probable cause. I don't have a form for the public defender. Ms. Fusco, do you have an offer?
Yes, Your Honor. Adjudication of guilt, 2 days with credit time served, court cost.
All right, do you want to do that, Mr. Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
We'll have you sign the plea form.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, is that your signature at the bottom of the plea form?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, did you understand everything contained within the plea form?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand all those rights you're giving up by entering the plea?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you on probation anywhere?
No, ma'am.
You understand if you're not a U.S. citizen, the plea will subject you to deportation.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I do find a factual basis based on the affidavit in the court file to accept your plea. I'll adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to 2 days with credit for 2 days' time served. I'll order you pay your court costs by February 13th, 2021. It gives a year. If you'd like to appeal the judgment and sentence of the court, you must do so in writing within 30 days. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. Good luck, sir.
All right.
Okay. Have a good day. All right, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Nope, okay. We're in recess until tomorrow.